listen to fall to the floor.
Hello, welcome back to another pen talk. Thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to be talking about this pen and also talking a little bit generically. So I think the first thing to do is just take a close look up at this pen. It's distinguished because the brand is on the cap band and the model is on the cap band. I'm going to say model number because of my recent complete immersion in Gin House. So one would probably say this pen is relatively interesting as far as how it looks. I mean, that's a really nice deep green acrylic. It's nice that the cap finial is made of the same material. A fair amount of chatoyancy in that acrylic. You have a black end on a cap on the end of the barrel. You might think piston filler, maybe a little bit of a takeoff on a dual fold, but then, you know, this black band here at the bottom of the cap is similar to what Parker did with Lady Patricians. And, you know, it's kind of a mishmash of a number of different things. You know, it's a fairly generic clip. I've never really seen this clip on any other pens, but it's very functional. It's pretty stiff, so that's nice. The pen is well made. The other thing that you'll notice about the pen as soon as you pick it up is it's not a light pen. So let's put it on the scale. Up, 41.1 grams. I mean, that's definitely not a light pen. And a pen that I thought would be interesting just to compare it to from size and a few other things is a Pelican M800, and that's only a little bit under 30 grams. So, you know, it definitely has that feel to it. And as we compare size, it is comparable to the M800, at least in size in this capped configuration. So, as we all know, we, or at least some of us, use these instruments for their intended purpose, which is writing. So in order to do that, you unscrew the cap. And this is where the pen, I think, falls flat. It would be nice if they used the same material here in the section. This is, to me, a very generic section. Very generic nib. Lots of discussion on the whole iridium point Germany concept. There's that little snowflake design. I guess I could kind of track down who made it. You know, a generic plastic feed, which we've all seen on many pens. The section is a little bit on the small size, considering the size of the pen. But it does fit well in the hand, and you can post it. It doesn't post very deeply. It makes for a very long pen. And not comfortable for writing with in long periods of time, but if you needed to just post it for a quick note, that would work. And this is where, like I said, when you start comparing these, the section on the M800 is much nicer. It's not any bigger, at least in length, but it certainly is nicer in girth. There's a little, you know, you don't notice the threads or step up on either of these two pens, so you could kind of hold it wherever you want, and that would be good. You know, the metal band at the bottom you do notice, but then, you know, if you're going to hold it close to the point, that might be something that you would not be happy with. So I did my research on this pen, and there is very little to nothing on the web about it. Who made it? It was probably made over 10 years ago. My guess is it was made by one of those companies that try to bring back vintage, because Chilton was a very esoteric brand in the 20s and 30s, and they made very pretty pens, and that's what they were known for. But they also made pens that wrote extremely well. So that's where we're at now. So, you know, again, how did I get this pen? Went to the Long Island Pen Show the spring of this year, and I went with one of my pen guys from the local groups, and he picked up. I picked up the pen too, and I think it was $20, but I'm asking him to confirm the price. So for $20, this is a decent buy from at least from the aesthetics and the way that it looks, and it's quality. I mean, it feels good. It's nicely polished. But writing is generic. Writing is what it is. And this is, I'm pretty certain, a Chinese pen made in China. There's no way to verify that, but I think that's where it is. I've actually found this pen on some interesting Chinese websites that sell pens or sell a whole bunch of things. But, you know, and it kind of looks like the pen. It's kind of hard to tell whether it's the exact pen or not, but it's certainly close enough to kind of pin that down as probably being made in China. And they are known for making pens like this. And I say from the quality and the manufacturer, it's probably a little bit above average, but enough talk of the pen. This pen I'm going to be giving away. So the giveaway is going to be, what I'd like you to do is in the comments, tell me your 3 favorite pens. And I'll randomly pick one of the comments with the pens on it, and the pen can be yours. I will ask that you may have to pay for shipping if it's not domestic. I've tried to ship stuff overseas, and it is not inexpensive, and probably precludes the cost of the pen in regards to that. So hopefully we can figure out something. Maybe if you're overseas and you have a friend visiting the States, we can get them the pen that way. So we could be creative. So let's see how this pen writes, and then we'll conclude this interesting review of a pen you probably never saw before, never will see again. But at one point in time it was made and sold, and I think it sold for about $100 from what I can tell. But, you know, and it's, I can see that. Probably heavily discounted, and then eventually, you know, given into kind of like pen shows where people will buy these in bulk, you know, buy like 50 of them for what, you know, a couple $100, and then sell them for what they can at the show and get their money back. There's a little bit of a close-up of the pen. It's also good to get the camera to focus on the paper. So we'll uncap it. I'm not going to post it. That's not pleasurable. It actually writes pretty smooth, and it's actually wetter than I expected. And the other interesting thing is the nib does have a little bit of softness to it. So that's a decent amount of line variation. As you can see, it does lay down a good patch of ink. I would say it's not the smoothest nib I've ever used, but I'll do some smoothing on it before I send it out. In fact, let's do that now. So first I do a couple figure eights on the rougher side. And then I do the same type of motion with a little bit less pressure on the medium side. I looked at the nib under a loop. There's a lot of iridium on this nib, so there's no chance of doing anything that's going to change the way that it writes. And then we're going to do a decent amount of smoothing on the fine side. And I think it feels pretty good, so it writes better. Again, it's a kind of nib that requires some pressure. You could have seen where it's a little bit hard starting, but that's because, and that's something I've had before on this one, it's just, it's sensitive to angle. You know, these nibs are very ubiquitous. They're on a lot of pens, and I'd say this is on the higher end of the Iridium Point Germany nibs. This is a well-made nib. So with the right pressure and the right angle, it writes well. So this pen could be yours. Just give me your 3 favorite pens and a little description on why you think they're your favorites. And if you want to add 3 Grail pens that you'd like to own but don't, that would also be interesting to have there. You know, let's have a little bit of a discussion on it. And it may result in your being an owner of a new pen. So thank you for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed this little look at a piece of eye candy from the recent past. And best wishes on the giveaway.